I feel like sometimes in life, everything I love kind of lets me down. One of my most anticipated games for 2025 is a game that was one of my most anticipated games when it first came out. And we're talking, of course, about Metal Gear Solid Delta, which originally was known as Metal Gear Solid 3. I think Metal Gear Solid 3 is one of the most important, impactful video games of all time. It brought so many new things to the genre, such as like the whole camo system, the injury system that was used in the game, the way that NPCs would interact with how you interacted with the world. It was just absolutely groundbreaking, and it was so much fun to play on the PlayStation 2. I still remember picking up the game. I didn't have a local video game store, so we had to drive 40 minutes away to pick up my pre-order like 3 towns over at the GameStop that was closest to us. It was me, a bunch of my buddies, a bunch of chicks. We got in my Ford Explorer. We went and picked it up. One of my buddies was pretty messed up. He stole a Metal Gear Solid 3 poster off the wall for me, and I was very grateful for that. We got back to my apartment. I started playing the game. They all were talking and hanging out and stuff, and I had to kick them all out because I was like, shut up, Joe. I've been waiting so long to play this. I was in the depths of my Metal Gear Solid fandom at this time. So Metal Gear Solid Delta looked like my game of the year for 2025, but there's a problem with it. And the problem is, if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, can you quack like a duck when you suck? If you know that song, you are a degenerate. If you don't know that song, look it up. Can You Quack? A very funny song. I tend to believe that the duck is the problem with this, and the duck happens to be the engine that is being used for Metal Gear Solid Delta. I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a connoisseur or an armchair developer and understand how these things work, but when I see a consistent problem happening with a certain engine that is being used for a lot of games, and a lot of these games have these same problems, I can't help but raise my eyebrow a bit. So Metal Gear Solid Delta comes out very soon. I believe it's next week. Digital Foundry got their hands on the game. I will have a link to Digital Foundry's video in the description box down below. I recommend checking it out. They showcase some of the stuff with the game, such as the tech within it, because, I mean, that's what they do. So you can see, like, the different graphics here. There is a PlayStation 5 performance mode, there's a PlayStation 5 quality mode, and there's a PS5 Pro mode within this. So there are 3 different modes if you're playing the game on PlayStation 5. Obviously, performance is going to favor frame rate. Quality mode is going to favor graphical density and stuff like that. And PlayStation 5 Pro mode is going to be a mixture of both of those. So, like, it's a game that looks very good. One of the main things that they talk about in this video when it comes to the differences between performance and quality mode is kind of the visual density and stuff like that, as far as, textures, certain elements popping up and stuff like that. Performance mode is a 60 frames per second mode. Quality mode is a 30 frames per second mode. And you can see here the differences. This isn't really a thing that I necessarily care about too much. I think the game looks great no matter what you're doing. Like, I understand, there is that YouTube compression playing a role here, but this is all fine to me. I'm fine with all of this. I'm fine with the way that these all look. Like, okay, it looks pretty damn similar. I guess PS5 Pro might be a little bit clearer and stuff like that, but cool. I'm satisfied with all of these modes. That's not the problem. The graphics are not the problem. The graphics are never the problem with most modern games. It's performance. And I don't understand how in the year of our Lord 2025, we are still struggling with performance on big AAA games. I don't get it. It's not hardware based. Let's stop acting like it is hardware based. It is a problem with either the developer or the engine. And when it's a certain engine that constantly gets used and constantly seems to have problems, I can't help but feel like that's playing a role. Let's get to the frame rate test. Like I said, performance mode is 60 frames, or is it? Here it is fluctuating all over the place. We're down to 50, 51, 52, 51. And it just gets worse. You get into some combat here. 48, 46, 47, 49, 47. Oh, there's an explosion. Oh, you better batten down the hatches, folks, because we're going down to 30 in performance mode while you are playing and experiencing the game. Well, okay, maybe quality mode is a lot here. Underwater, you're 35 frames per second. And there's a boss battle where you have to go underwater, by the way. So it's not like this is a small portion of the game. It's not like this is just, isolated things. Quality mode. Okay, so we're at 30 frames per second here. Is it at least consistent? Is it stable? Does it ever fluctuate? Well, so far, so good. You know, maybe this is the mode to play it on. Oh, wait. Oh, wait. Now we're down to 27, 28, 27, 30. While you're playing up to 31. Why did it go up to 31? 28 again. And like, I know what you're saying to yourself. RGT, you're usually not big on frame rate stuff, but let me explain why this bothers me in just a moment, because we have to take a look down to 26 underwater. It's definitely more stable than that. Here's PS5 Pro mode. We're still not at 60 frames per second. And in some instances, the drops are worse in PS5 Pro mode than they are in the performance mode of the game. It's all over the damn place. And that's my problem with things like frame rate and stuff. If a game is locked at 30 frames, it's not ideal because I would rather it be 60. But with a locked 30 frame per second game, you can adjust to it. You can adjust to the feeling of that game. When we're talking about a constantly fluctuating frame rate, your feeling is going to be all over the place. Now, in some genres, that's okay. In some genres, that's not a big deal. If you're talking about like a turn-based RPG, who cares if the frame rate fluctuates? You know, you're not doing anything intensive. But if we're talking about an action game that requires reflexes and shooting, if we're talking about a sports game, thinking about Madden 26 on the Switch 2, with that constant fluctuation of the frame rate, it causes problems with how you actually play the game and experience the game, because the feeling is constantly going to be changing. And that's not good. You don't want that. And like, I can't help but feel like Unreal Engine 5 is playing a role in this. And when you look, Unreal Engine 5 games bad optimization, you could see tons of Reddit threads, forum posts, Steam communities, videos from people. I think Mutahar just made a video on this. You could see an Asmongold video. Unreal Engine 5 is killing games. Now, I don't really watch those types of videos because it's kind of armchair developer, but when there is something that is consistently happening, you can't help but feel like there is a reason that that is happening. If you take a look at Unreal Engine 5 games, you can notice that some of these games, a lot of these games, do have issues that maybe wouldn't be prevalent if they were using a different engine. Like I said, I'm not going to sit here and armchair developer you guys, because I don't fully get stuff like that. Mafia: The Old Country, I know for a fact that there are performance issues in that game because MVG beat it and told me about the performance issues. Spawnwave said the same thing. And it's just like, why does this keep happening with Unreal Engine 5? Why does this consistently happen? And why are companies still using this engine that seems to be a problematic engine? I'm not saying that, you know, Metal Gear Solid Delta is going to be a bad game, but if we're already seeing performance issues with the game, that raises a lot of eyebrows for me with both, you know, the game, how much time and effort went into this, but more importantly, with the engine that is being used for this game, especially on consoles. It definitely seems like Unreal Engine 5 on consoles has been more problematic than it has been on PC. Now, I'm not a PC gamer, so I can't really speak too much of the ilk of how Unreal Engine 5 is viewed within the PC community. Obviously, that little Google search that I did, a lot of that stuff was based on the Steam community. But I just feel like there's some sort of disconnect that developers are having with this situation. Can this game get patched and then it runs at a lock 60, or it runs at a lock 30, or, you know, it's at least more optimized? Like, sure, but we're not playing that version on day one. The day one version is the version that they played with Digital Foundry. It's the experience that they had is what we're going to be having. And I don't think it's fair to sit there and, you know, rely on a hopefulness of patches and stuff like that to fix these games, when realistically speaking, the game should be optimized on day one for the early adopters. We are the most important people. We are the ones that are helping the game sales with this. And it just feels very like a slap in the face. So I don't know. This is a PlayStation 2 game that has a new coat of paint that doesn't run at a locked frame rate. And something about that just does not sit right with me. I feel like a lot of these developers are prioritizing just graphical density and shit like that instead of actually worrying about the frame rate of the game. The frame rate will impact the game much more than the graphical density. Some of the most, highest selling Steam games of all time are literally games that are like minimalistic graphical style. And I don't understand why we're trying to push the medium in that direction, but the frame rates are not keeping up with that. And especially in a game like Metal Gear Solid 3, or in this case, Metal Gear Solid Delta, that requires you to, sneak around, go underwater. Sometimes you got to take some people out and stuff like that. And if your feeling is constantly changing, that plays a role in the gameplay. That plays a role in the overall enjoyment of the game. But, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. If you're a game developer, feel free to sound off in the comments section down below your experiences or your thoughts on Unreal Engine 5, because I don't know if it's necessarily fair to put all of the blame on Unreal Engine 5, but I think we've seen so many cases of Unreal Engine 5 games not running very well on a console that there has to be some sort of correlation there. I'm not saying that there definitely is, but if I had to put money on it being an Unreal Engine 5 problem, or if it not, I would probably put the money on Unreal Engine 5. Anyways, guys, let me know in the comments section down below. What do you think about this? Like I said, I have the link to the Digital Foundry video in the comment or in the description box down below if you want to check out the whole video. It's a very interesting video. You could see all the different modes and all the different performance, but I don't know, man. It's definitely disappointing to see this happening right before the game comes out, because it's like, well, like, how's it going to actually feel at this point in time? And as always, thank you guys for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, be sure to hit that subscribe button. I uploaded 6 videos in 3 days, so go watch all those videos if you missed any of them. And as always, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.